Oh yeah.
Question, you're gonna write something about it or you're gonna publish the video?
So I'm gonna be publishing the video on my YouTube channel if you don't mind.
No, no problem. I just wanted to know so I don't like drink tea or do random shit.
You can do random shit. We don't mind. Everything is welcome here. Hello, Sofia. How are you?
Hello. Oh, I love your background.
Oh yeah, that's one of your picture.
Yeah, nice.
Great job on the short, by the way. I just watched it earlier today. I thought you did a great job. Really, really like the look of the film. We'll be able to talk about it. Are we waiting for Joseph?
Yes, he's coming. Thank you.
Awesome.
Um,
Hi, Joseph. How
okay.
are you doing?
What's going on? Hello.
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. So both of you, is it your first time doing Sundance? Because I saw that the film will be premiering at Sundance. How are you guys feeling about that?
Incredibly excited. Yeah, I think it's amazing. We when we heard about it, we thought it was a joke and we were nervous it was because I mean, it's great news for us. Very excited. I've never been, so I'm also very curious to be in the festival.
Yeah, um it's a really lovely surprise.
Not too nervous about it.
You know what? Like at the moment, no, but I know that come January 27th at 9 a.m. when we have our premiere, I'll probably be I'm sure we'll all be incredibly nervous. I think it's yeah, just also having the Sundance crowd see the film, um, which is obviously very exciting, but also that's for sure nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I wish you all the best for it. And I'm most likely gonna mispronounce your name. So Sofia Camargo, is that correct? And
That's good.
Joseph Longo. Both of
Correct.
you co-directed the short film We're Not Done Yet. So it takes a look at the mother and son dynamic, and it's even more interesting when you realize that the main character is being played by you, Joseph, and the mother is being played by your actual mom, which is Barbara Sukowa, if I'm not mispronouncing it.
Correct.
So where
Yeah.
did this ID came from? Because she's a quite well-known German actress, and I guess like at what point did this ID came to life? Because it's you and your mom. I guess it's very personal for you.
Yeah, I think it's personal in the sense of obviously working with my mom and confronting myself with some things that I had gone through in the last 5, 10 years. Um, and my dynamic, my specifically the emotional dynamic between my mom and I. But the film is fiction. Um, every bit of it is fiction. But the relationship between us at like the core is very much so based on us. And a funny note is that when my mom read the script for the first time, we sat down, it was me and her, and she couldn't stop laughing reading it because she just would have these moments where she would, I don't know, she'd read something in the middle. We'd be reading the lines back and forth to each other, and she'd just be, "Oh my God, you do this to me! Like this is so you, or this is so us," and like she would have these, um, so like you can tell that there's something very truthful and honest about it, but it is fiction.
Yeah, because there's a lot to be said about the modern son dynamic. I'll get back to this in a few seconds, but I also want to know, Sophia, what drew you to this project? Did you guys knew each other from before?
Yeah, we met at film school and we were actually just talking about how it's hard when people ask us like where does the story come from because stories just come to you and when we became friends and when we were at NYU and we started writing our films, we quickly realized we were both obsessed with our mothers and like telling stories about our mothers. And I think that's part of our friendship. And I think that's what drew me to this story. It just felt very close to the things I like to write about and direct. And Joseph and I had so many conversations about family, so it felt interesting to do something creative about all those conversations we had had. So I think it's that.
Yeah, because let's talk about one of the main theme of the short, which is the relationship between mother and son, which can be equally beautiful and ugly at times. I love that you say your mom was reading the script and kind of like laughing about it. And it has been portrayed a lot in films before. Sometimes like directors would go into a therapeutic experience, like just trying to lash out about, but it didn't feel like that. It felt like just a way to say like sometimes I can be mad at you, mom, but I love you. Was that a little bit your approach to that in terms of like finding the tone, the right tone for your short film?
Yeah, it's actually interesting because I think it was more of that in the beginning when I'd written, but then as the script developed, I think it was a lot more of like turning the lens on my character and how I'm the one who maybe needs to make some changes rather than constantly pointing the finger.
Mhm.
So yeah, and I think that's something that, a lot of children have to go through at certain points. Like, all right, are you going to grow up? And are you going to let go of this idea of who your parent is? And also let them be free as well, like they are humans in their own. They're not just parents.
It's a lot of human, like natural emotions, and one of them is I think we've all been embarrassed by our moms at some point in her life. And there's a moment in the short with the neighbors, like you can tell that Alex, the son, which you play, is a little bit by embarrassed by his mom behavior, trying to control her and like settle her down. Was those little moments crucial to kind of show like both sides of the coin in terms of like sometimes yeah, our moms can be annoying, but we still love them anyway.
I mean, Sophia, you can answer
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I think that's yeah, moms are controlling and they are annoying and we love them, but we are also controlling. And I think that's part of what we wanted to explore in this film is like, I mean, I don't have any children yet, and Joseph doesn't either. And we've realized growing up that we as children or as like daughter and son have also a controlling nature towards our parents. And I do think that's part of growing up, and it's really interesting to like flip that lens on you and realize you're also trying to control some stuff. And in a way you're also trying to stay a child and like keep the relationship intact the way you want it and stay protected and be the most precious thing for your parents because you don't want to let go. And I think for Joseph and I, for different reasons, we've had to like do a lot of growing up in the past few years, and I think that's connected to the film.
It's part of I feel like growing up as an adult you're I mean of course the relationship's always going to evolve and change with your mother, so there's some levity to this short film. There's some humor. There's a moment like I literally laughed out loud. It's all also like a little bit peaceful in terms of the look of the film. So I was talking about the tone, but how did you approach like what it's equally funny and emotional, but it also made me reflect about my own mother. So how did you approach the tone of the film, because you could have gone in a lot of direction? Yeah.
I mean, I guess I can lead with that from just like the writing standpoint. Um, I'm very interested in the works of like Mike Lee and Asghar Farhadi, who I think do a lot of. Um, Asghar Farhadi doesn't have much humor in his films, but Mike Lee has. I love this dynamic of these very like realistic families that are completely flawed, which is to say that they're just completely human, and there's lots of humor and pain um, within these families. And I think that that's something that I experienced a lot with my mom. I mean, I don't laugh with anyone as much as I do with my mom. And I mean, like real, like guttural laughs.
Mhm.
And often they come from like us teasing each other or about something that's maybe actually really painful or something that's really embarrassing so trying to find that, then like a fictionalized version of that in the story then as well, I guess.
Yeah, because what also makes it relatable is the authenticity, and it comes also from the casting, the decision. It can be felt with the acting. It's very like relatable. So was it always your intention to cast yourself and your mom? Because it feels like an important part of the puzzle, right?
Yes. Short
Yeah.
answer. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And also, I really love. I was talking about the look of the film. It kind of has like a vintage and authentic look to it. If I'm not mistaken, it was shot on film. right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I really felt like it, and to go on that nostalgia feeling to it, it kind of goes like it feels like you're going through a whole photo album. The opening shot is actually some old family photos, and it ends with this beautiful shot. It kind of feels like you're watching a home video from the past. Was that intentional? What was your approach with the look of the film?
I think that was intentional and connecting a little bit with what we were just talking about the tone. I think we wanted the drama and the turmoil to come from the characters and not from the location.
Mhm.
The house is beautiful, the location is very peaceful, we're by the ocean, but that's how it feels to be with your family sometimes, right? Like there's a lot of like tension and things happening and growing, and I think we wanted to play with that contrast. And yeah, the decision to be on film was related to it wanting we wanting it to film to feel very natural and very real. And a lot of the things we looked at were old pictures of Joseph and Barbara, and they had that like quality, and we were trying to mimic that. I think you're right, and I feel really good that you brought that up, because I did wanted the film to feel like that, like what you feel when you look at old pictures.
Yeah, I think I actually specifically remember in pre-production, I'm like 99% sure that Sophia said like this should feel like a photo album.
Mhm.
And what's what you just brought up. I don't know that she said that or if it was after or if it was shortly after production, but I'm pretty sure that that happened at one point. I remember her saying like it should feel like a photo album. Specifically, also just in the script, it starts with these photos and then there's the film, you know? So it's like you're bringing these photos to life in a way.
Yeah, exactly. That was beautifully portrayed because it felt like going into like a time capsule. You kind of feel like it's a memory that you're living and reliving, and it's beautifully framed. I love the composition of the shot, some of the establishing shot. There's a moment where there's like just like a pot of flowers and the flower falls down. Just those little moments that allowed the scenes to breathe. So was that something you wanted to convey? Like just because it's quite peaceful, but at the same time there's this chaotic moment where the son and the mother's arguing and they're like swearing at each other. So like, yeah, what would you wanted to convey with those visuals? Yeah.
I mean, I would just say that Sophia can speak on them for, but they're also like they were the flower thing definitely was intended to be in the script because my mom loves peonies. We didn't get to use peonies for production reasons because they die and they're hard to get at that time. But like I had this idea of, a petal falling from a flower that my mom really loved. And so like maybe that also then just seeped into then the process of making it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, those details and that rhythm was in the script, and I think in a way was also a way of portraying the passage of time and how the house and the beach are all indifferent to all those emotions growing at a different pace. And yeah, I think it's interesting how the film works in two different levels, because those details are very beautiful and peaceful, and they're juxtaposed to this like two people fighting. But I think there's
Mhm.
something interesting about that, because that's how real life feels, right? Like you can be having the worst day of your life and it's beautiful outside, or you know the world is sometimes indifferent to whatever we're feeling. And I do think there's something about that in the film.
Yeah, I feel like it's so important to have those little moments, those little moments sometimes to breathe and try to capture like the dynamic between the characters. And the movie starts, we don't know much. Even when it ends, we don't know much about their past, but we understand the dynamic right from the start. So I guess it starts with those little moments where you put so much emphasis on details that are like quite personal, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean the photos hopefully it's funny because some people haven't or didn't like they look at the photos and then they see my mom and I and they don't realize that the photos are my mom and I, which I think is crazy because I think we look the same. But but yeah, those details I think are from again, I actually just really like this idea of the photo album, like I think even the waves crashing or the flower falling, you know, that's part of that photo album in a way, you know.
Yeah. And Joseph, you mentioned Mike Lee as one of your influences. Sophia, would you say, like, what would you call some of your influences that maybe inspire, whether with the story or the look of the film? Could you name like something that influenced you when doing that short?
I think another one we were looking at was Phantom Thread from Paul Thomas Anderson,
Mhm,
just in terms of lighting and the use of like the tripod and how specific the shots
mhm,
felt and the relationship between the characters and the architecture or the environment they're in, the distance we were giving them to be in those spaces.
mhm.
And I know we both love Paul Thomas Anderson, so we did have him in mind when thinking about the look of the film. I'm trying to think if there's someone else.
Paul Thomas Anderson also, whether people realize it or not, like all of his movies are about family,
That's
you
true.
know? Like I think that's like and I remember seeing, I think I saw an interview of him talking about like, and this is maybe in like the late 90s, he's like, if you don't know what to write, like you have a gold mine in what you have of growing up with your family. Like you have an infinite well of things to talk about from family. And so, um, and also I think he's very funny in his films too, although they're quite dramatic as well, which I think is something that we aimed for in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, you just mentioned funny once again. I'm just gonna say it, the scene where you sit down and you just fell on your back. I laughed out loud. That was actually hilarious, especially at the moment where you're kind of like vulnerable. And anyway, I just thought that was brilliant. So just curious, guys, are you working on anything in the future?
Yeah, I'm currently writing the feature version of this
Okay.
called Lost at the Beach of Sunken Ships. Um, and I very much so hope that Sophia's involved. And our I mean, I would love to work with the same team. But that's in my immediate future.
Good. How
Yeah,
about you?
nice. I'm also writing a feature myself, something that I want to direct back in Colombia, where I'm from. I also hope that Joseph will join me on the ride because besides being a good actor and director, he's also an incredible producer. Um, so yeah, I think we learned that we like working together. So both those features will have us both.
It's just a matter of finding the right project. So I wish you all the best and take your time. Sometimes you need like the right idea, and I feel like you're both very talented. So I'm really looking forward to see what you do next.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Have a
Thank you.
good time, guys. Wish you all the best for Sundance. Let's do this.
Yes,
Thank
you
you.
will.
Bye.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Have a good
Have a
one.
good one.